coming at you guys with a little bit of a different video today. Today I'm going to be doing the tier list for every team's ace. And real quick here before we get started, this was as updated as a list as I could find. I know we might not hit every single team, but this was, like I said, just the most updated version that I could find. So with that in mind, let's hop right into the video. All right, so first up here we have Jacob deGrom, and as you're going to see, Jacob deGrom's in a tier of his own. There is no one as good as Jacob deGrom in baseball right now. He's the best starter. He has his own tier. Next up here, we have Tyler Anderson. This guy is a solid starter when you're looking at regular pitchers, but this guy is considered an ace. He's close to the back end of the rotation, but I don't think he's that bad. I'll put him right in the strong starter tier. Next up here, we have Chris Bassett, who put together a great season this year, really broke through as Oakland's ace. He's a top-end starter. He is a very good pitcher. He's clearly the best pitcher on Oakland, top-end starter. Next up here, we have Jose Barrios, who was traded from the Twins to the Blue Jays. Barrios is a very good starter, similar to Chris Bassett. I'm going to put him as well in that top-end category. Next up here, we have Shane Bieber. This guy was injured most of the year, but when he was last on the field, he was as dominant as they come. This guy is a legit ace. He's one of the better pitchers in the game. Same thing here with Walker Buehler, another legit ace, and he is about as good as it gets. He's as close as you're going to see to Jacob deGrom. This guy is a top-end starter. Really could win the National League Cy Young this year. Next up, we have Garrett Cole again. Another legit ace. This guy has done it for many seasons now, been one of the best pitchers in the game. He's another legit ace. Next up here, we have Danny Duffy for the Kansas City Royals. This guy's a back end of the rotation guy. He's an okay pitcher. Like, he's not special in terms of being like having ridiculous stuff. He's just a middle of the pack guy. He's a decent starter, but when comparing him to other aces, he's just not a strong ace. Next up here, we have Nathan Eovaldi. He is not as bad as Tyler Anderson. He's a little bit better. I think he belongs in that top end category. He's a good starter for Boston. He is their ace. Pretty solid one at that. Next up here, we have Jack Flaherty. This is a tough one. He's close to legit ace. He put together a monster campaign back in 2019, but he has struggled a little bit ever since then. In 2020 was a down year. He had a good year this year, but based off of, 2019, I just don't think, you can't base it off 1 year. I'm not saying because of 2019 he's a bad pitcher, but I don't think he's up there with Bieber, Buehler, and Cole, but he's definitely at the top of the top-end starter category. Next, we have Zach Gallen, who has shown flashes of being a dominant starter this year. Was a down year for him. I think he fits right in that category with Tyler Anderson as a strong starter. If this guy fits his potential and lives up to it, he really has the potential to be a legit ace. But right now, he's nothing more than a strong starter. Next up, we have Kevin Gausman. This is tough because he was clearly a legit ace this year. He was one of the better pitchers in the National League. But he hasn't done it for very long. This is a tough one. I don't know if I want to put him in the legit ace. I'm going to put him at the top end of the top end starters. He's really close to being a legit ace. He is off of what we've seen last year, but it's just 1 year. I can't put him up there with Bieber, Buehler, and Cole based off of one Cy Young caliber year. Next up, we have Kyle Gibson. This guy's okay. Had a couple good seasons recently. I think he's not a top end starter. I think he's a strong starter. Next up here, the Tampa Bay Rays, we got Tyler Glasnow. This guy's about as good as they come. I think he belongs up there with the legit aces. I think he is caliber, like Cy Young caliber. Like, this guy is one of the better pitchers in the game. He's just had some health issues. It's tough putting him above guys like Jack Flaherty and Kevin Gausman, but I think he's just a little bit better than those two. Next, we have Sonny Gray, who has had a pretty solid major league career up to this point. I think he is a strong starter. I'm going to put him at the front end of the strong starter. I think he's close. Like, when looking at him and Nathan Eovaldi, I think Eovaldi's a touch better, but I just think Sonny Gray belongs in that tier below it. Next up here, we have Zach Greinke. This is pretty easy one at this point in his career. He's still a top-end starter. I don't think he's a legit ace at this point. He had many years being a legit ace, but at this point, he is a top-end starter. Next up, we have Kyle Hendricks, who has put together a great season and a great career with Chicago. I think with Hendricks, I think he's a little bit better than those strong starters. I think he is a top-end starter, although he didn't have the best year this year. Next up, we have Yusei Kikuchi. This guy is close to being the back end of a rotation guy. He has talent, but I don't think he's nearly as good as those guys in the strong starter category. I don't think he matches up with Sonny Gray, Tyler Anderson, Zach Gallen, and Kyle Gibson. I think he's really close to being a strong starter, but I don't think he belongs in that tier right now. Next, we have Lance Lynn of the Chicago White Sox. This guy is close to being a legit ace. I'll put him the top end of the category here with Flaherty, Gausman, and Bassett. I think he's close to being a legit ace, but I don't think he's up there with those other four guys. Next up here, we have German Marquez. He's had a couple up and down seasons. He is a good starter, but I don't think he's a top end. He's shown potential. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be biased because I'm clearly a Rockies fan. I don't want to be biased with this one, but he's pitched like a top-end starter, and I'll put him in that category. I think he's a little bit better than those four in the strong starter category. Like I said, I hate to be biased. I don't want to be biased, but all bias aside, I think he's a top-end starter. Next, we have John Means. This guy is a pretty solid pitcher. He's pitched like a top-end starter. He's really close to being a strong starter, but after he played so well this year, I don't know if he's better than those guys in the strong starter category, but I guess I'll put him up there because he had a monster year this year for Baltimore, playing on an awful team, so I'll give him that. Next up, we have Casey Mize. This guy has been a solid, underrated pitcher for Detroit. He was the former #1 overall pick back in 2018. Really, no one talks about him. I think he's a good starter, but I think he's nothing more than that right now. He definitely has the potential to be a top-end starter and a legit ace one day. #1 pick a couple years back, but right now I think he's a strong starter. Next up, we have Charlie Morton. He, like Kevin Gausman, Jack Flaherty, Lance Lynn, all these other guys, he's a top-end starter. I don't think he's a legit ace right now with his age. He just broke his leg, unfortunately, so he's going to be out for quite a while, and he's 37 years old, so when he comes back, he definitely won't be as good as he was. But when we last saw him on the field, I think he's a top-end starter. Next up here, we have Shohei Ohtani, another top-end starter towards the top here. He has shown flashes. He's obviously the hitter and the pitcher. He's the best talent we have seen in baseball in a very long time. I don't think he's a legit ace right now. He has 100-mile-an-hour stuff. He's really good. Until we see a full 200-inning season from him, which who knows, we might not see that, but I think right now I can't put him above a top-end starter. Next up, we have Trevor Rogers. This guy had a great season this year. I think he's another top-end starter. Fits right in with these other guys in this category. He has a lot of potential down the road, and he's still very young. Next, we have Hyun-Jin Ryu. Now, he has pitched like a top-end starter in the past. He wasn't great this year. I don't want to put him as a strong pitcher because I feel like he's right there with Kyle Hendricks. Like, he's similar to Kyle Hendricks. So I'll put him in as a strong starter right now. I'm going to do the same to Kyle Hendricks. I hate to put him down after I put him up there, but I think those two are so similar right now. So I think they're both strong starters. Next up, we have Max Scherzer, who is a legit ace. This guy is one of the best starters in all of baseball. He's been doing it for a very long time. He's a clear-cut first ballot Hall of Famer. It's between him and Walker Buehler as the National League Cy Young Award this year, and Corbin Burns as well. But really, Max Scherzer is one of the best in the game. And next we have Zach Wheeler. This guy is right up there with Kevin Gausman, all these other guys at the top end of the top end starter category. He is a great talent, put together a great season this year. I think he led the league in strikeouts, so he's as good as they come. Don't think he's up there with those other pitchers, though. The Phillies really need him. He's a clear-cut ace, but I don't think he's up there with those other guys. Next, we have Brandon Woodruff, who is a dominant pitcher. No disrespect, but I think Corbin Burns should be the ace for this team, but we'll deal with what we got here, and I think even being the number 2 for the Milwaukee Brewers, I think Brandon Woodruff is at the top of the top-end starters. He is close to being a legit ace. He is elite. He's one of the best pitchers in the game. No, I'm putting him as a legit ace. This guy is so talented. He put together a couple monster years. Now, I'm going to give him the respect he deserves. He's a legit ace. Next up here, we have Yu Darvish. He's pitched like a legit ace in the past. The Padres paid him like a legit ace. He didn't perform like it. Right now, after what we saw last year, he's close to being a strong starter, but I think I'll give him the nod here and put him in the top end starter category. He's close to being the category below, but from what we've seen in the past, he is capable of bouncing back and being one of the better starters in baseball. All right, so there you have it, my starting pitcher ace tier list. Be sure to let me know what you guys think down below, where you agree or where you disagree, because I'm sure we are going to have many disagreements with this one. And as always, if you guys do enjoy the content, feel free to subscribe. Posting plenty of baseball videos over here, and I'm going to continue to do so going forward. And lastly, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.